Okay, we continue. Learning curve.
The learning curve. It's something you've heard of before, but we're going to decompose it and talk about it a little bit in the context of entrepreneurship and new venturing. So fundamentally, learning curves address the speed at which you learn something new. It's graphically depicted, and in that graphic, it gives us some sense of how long does it take to develop a mastery level of skill set, or at least a proficient level of skills. In this context, when we look at something like the beta, the middle version, we start as a novice, we build skills fairly quickly, and we can reach a mastery level with reasonable speed. Other things may take a while. The lowercase alpha symbol is something where it takes significant time to build some expertise. We can then elevate and reach that mastery level at a much later point in time than on the beta curve. So let's put it in the context. What influences your learning curve are a variety of things. One is certainly what you know today. If you are an excellent snow skier, you might make the transition into water skiing with reasonable ease. However, if you've never skied, and you've never done roller skating or skateboarding or anything else that revolves around that kind of category of sport, water skiing and snow skiing can be very difficult and can take some time to build expertise in. So again, learning curve certainly influenced by what you know today. It also is oriented towards your level of interest. If something interests you, you may spend time and energy and enthusiasm for it. If you're less interested, you may never get there, or it may take a long time. Tied into that is your level of commitment. When we think of time, it's not necessarily the calendar and how many days. It's more about how many hours does it take to build mastery. And that's influenced by the amount of hours you want to put in per day, where you can become a master relatively quickly in terms of days, but it might take a lot of hours per day to reach that level of efficiency. There's also an element of resources. Who do you have to help you? Do you have books and videos and coaching and mentoring and expert advice? Or are you kind of doing it by trial and error? So resources play a big role in the learning curve. Learning curve challenges for entrepreneurs are certainly there. You may, as an entrepreneur entering a new category, not be at the same point of expertise as your competitors. Due to their past operations, they've learned some things. They've experienced some things. They've gotten better at things. And they have an advantage, hopefully temporary, but an advantage nonetheless, on new individuals and entrepreneurs that are entering that space. So what is an entrepreneur to do? Well, one, you can minimize that gap by trying to do something new. So this is another incentive beyond just differentiation for the market and offering new to customers of a reason to be different and novel. Here, by being different and novel, you may make what the competition knows less relevant. You may seek a new market and make their ability to serve the old customers less relevant to your ability to serve the new customers. So in that way, think about how to minimize that gap between you and your competitors by doing something new that your competitors aren't yet experts in. We can also think about how to build a learning curve by building a strong team. So in this context, if I wanted to start an electric vehicle company, I would want a CTO that had similar experience, that learned how to do hybrid electric propulsion with Boeing, and had done it exceptionally well. I would want someone as the chief designer that had worked with Mazda North America's Design Center, one of the leading American and international automotive design centers in the world, and also had experience in General Motors. If I want to start an electric vehicle company, I want a CFO that understands money and that understands finance and has done that as a CFO of Ford, which is a $3 billion subsidiary of Ford Global. I want somebody that understands sales and innovation in sales and innovations in retail, and someone from Apple and Gap should have that knowledge. And I want somebody that can build cars, someone who's led manufacturing at Toyota, at Volvo, Mack, and Renault. And so in that context, as the founder of Tesla, Elon Musk, a smart guy, a great inventor, but also built a strong team. So another way to climb the learning curve is to surround yourself with others that have expertise. Now, you may not be able to necessarily bring in the world's best at everything, as Tesla did, but you can certainly look for people that complement your skill sets, that parallel your passion, that know what you don't. And through your team, you can help one another climb that learning curve. So in summary, when we think about learning curves, we want to recognize what you know, what you need to know, and what is important in the industry and markets that you're pursuing. We also want to think about how you can climb that curve. What are your relationships and resources? What's your commitment? As well as what you can do to build a strong team and be successful in navigating the learning curve.
Complementary assets.
With complementary assets, we're addressing both the tangible and the intangible resources that are important for your venture creation and growth. Tangible assets, things like money, equipment, perhaps real estate. Intangible, the knowledge, the relationships, even intellectual property, as well as patents and brands that might sit in a bit of both of these categories, are things that interest us as we seek to build complementary assets for our new venture. So we want to consider where our advantages lie. We want to think about what do we know, what relationships do we have, and what financial capital do we have. So all of these important to new venturing. Relationships are something via LinkedIn that are incredibly easier to build now than they were previously. So for my LinkedIn account, I'm fortunate to have nearly 3,000 connections, and many of them through Coursera, where I've been able to connect with a global classroom of learners and have been able to maintain and grow some of those relationships through LinkedIn. What you can also do via LinkedIn is it gives you an opportunity to connect with people that you may have worked with previously, either in university settings, corporate settings, graduate school settings, or other settings, and you can reconnect with people. I think one of the most valuable pieces is you can see who they're connected to, hence this category of linking. And so if you want to connect with someone that works at Google, or if you want to connect with someone that's a biomechanical engineer, you can go online and begin to kind of seek and find out those people, identify someone, and then see, do you know someone who knows them? And get connected via that way and request connections. So LinkedIn, a great asset for building those relationships. We also want to recognize what we know and what industries are exciting to have the opportunity to raise capital in. What we see here is a report that comes out quarterly from PricewaterhouseCoopers, a leading consultancy, where they go through and they rank and they evaluate what are the industries that are getting sourced in the context of funding. And we can see here the software, the biotech, the medical devices, all areas for which a lot of funding is being raised. And as we track to the right, we can see how much was raised in a given quarter what percent of the total deals that represented, as well as how many deals were derived within that category. How many dollars of venture capital was put behind the number of companies that received funding. A number one way of receiving such funding is through your relationships. So we also want you to be aware of starting a company in an area where the company with the most money wins. What we mean by that is that large companies typically have a lot more money than small companies. And what we want to differentiate ourselves on as entrepreneurs is our knowledge. What do we know? As well as relationships we may have. The knowledge and the relationships are a lot easier for you to develop as entrepreneurs than it is to find your way into a lot of money. Inversely, as entrepreneurs, we want to recognize that knowledge and relationships are hard to replicate. Whereas getting money, it's not an easy thing, but it's easier than building the knowledge and building the relationships. So in that way, we want to focus on businesses as entrepreneurs where knowledge and relationships are more important than simply having some money. Where does money come from? Well, you likely want some money or need some money. We want to recognize here that the majority of startups are funded by the entrepreneurs. That some money thereafter comes from family members. There might be other partners involved as well. The venture capital piece that you hear so much about is actually a small sliver of the amount of money that is typically raised by startups. We find that in this context, relationships play a big role as well, and that the personal savings not only of the individual starting the firm, but of the team is a big piece of what it takes to get moving and to get started. Crowdfunding is something else that you may have heard about. Crowdfunding is emerging in the US and is arguably more advanced in some other areas, including Europe, whereby individuals can go online and raise money for their ventures. Typically, it is oriented towards raising money in the context of pre-sales, where you are selling a product that's not yet available. Or maybe there's a gift of some sorts. Individuals contribute money and they receive coffee mugs and t-shirts and things of that nature, but there's also an emerging equity crowdfunding opportunity that's taking form that is giving money for ownership in the company. This is something, again, evolving in different parts of the world, not available yet in the US, not available yet everywhere, but equity-based funding is something that's on its way. In this context, we see some companies doing some great things. Out of Canada, the Pebble Watch raised $10 million via crowdfunding. The Castle Story video game raised $700,000. So we do see a lot of money being raised in this crowdfunding area. Again, a big piece of it based on the knowledge and the relationships of the entrepreneurs. The money came later and came from a lot of small individuals, the crowd. So again, another evidence that your knowledge really matters and the invention or the innovation really matters. You can find the money later from a variety of sources. So in summary, what complementary assets are most critical to the industry and to the market of interest are something that we want you to consider. We want you to really focus on building your knowledge and your expertise and thinking about the complementary asset of relationships, of building relationships that you may not yet have, renewing relationships you may have lost, and maintaining the relationships that you currently have underway. In the context of financial capital, it's important. You'll need it, likely. You may need some other people's money, but I wouldn't let that be a preoccupation at the moment. Good ideas can find investment. We have another course within our Coursera sequence called New Venture Financing, and within that New Venture Financing course, they'll spend some time talking about how to raise capital, how to raise the right money at the right time. But for now, again, think about complementary assets, think about building your knowledge and your relationships. Your reputation effects might be a bit of a new concept for you, but it's interconnected with marketing and branding, and highly important for new ventures. So when we look at reputation effects, we're really talking about brand awareness and brand perception. Customers tend to buy from companies with which they've had a relationship with, those that we bought something from before. Or customers will buy from some referral, something they are acquainted with from friends or family. Or they buy something based on branding, what they believe the brand, the product, the service to encompass. So when we look at that, we want to be thoughtful as entrepreneurs about the emphasis that we put on building our reputation, of understanding how to align the benefits and the values of our company with the interests and ambitions of our customers. And with that, it helps us to really focus how to market, where to market, how to price, and make other marketing decisions as well. So one element that we want you to think about when you're bringing a new product to market is that you may benefit from focusing on new customers in new ways. In that context, it gives you the opportunity to educate them on what you're doing and how you're doing it, and not necessarily rely on trying to compete head-to-head with competitors. If you bring a new product to market and you build a great brand around that, it somewhat makes the competition's brand less relevant, or hopefully irrelevant, and that you're doing something new, you're doing something novel, and you get to be known for being that innovator and known for being good at that. When we think about dimensions of brand equity, it happens first with awareness. It's a bit of a fallacy to think that the best product always wins, or that the best features always win, or that the best pricing always wins. I would argue that it's the best branded and the best marketed. Customers are not able to buy something that they're unfamiliar with. I can't purchase something I've never heard of. So brand awareness is certainly pivotal to entrepreneurs. Perceived quality is something to think about as well. Perceived quality is very much based on matching or exceeding customer expectations. It doesn't mean that you necessarily have to have the gold-plated Mercedes, that it has to be everything to everybody and have every feature that you could ever imagine. Typically, that comes at a price that the majority of your market is not going to be able to afford. So when I say quality, I don't necessarily mean that you have to have the highest quality out there. I mean that you have to have quality that's consistent with your price point and consistent with the brand and consistent with customer expectations. We also want to think brand associations of how do you connect the customer to the brand, as well as loyalty, and what can you do as the entrepreneur to have them affiliate with the brand and try and maintain that affiliation and that loyalty to your brand. So how do you do that? How do you build brand equity? Well, creating and communicating that image is certainly central. Building awareness and familiarity, building associations where we have a thoughtful name and logo and design and packaging, and it's all connected, and that our business card looks like our website, looks like our packaging, and in that sense, it all is married together. It's a consistent look, a consistent feel. We also want to think about ways to induce loyalty. It might be rewards, it might be special pricing or special access or other incentives. So in summary, when we think about reputation, it's difficult to come out as an entrepreneur in a startup and compete head-to-head with a competitor doing exactly what they do the same way they do it. But if we are different, if we are novel, if we can build a unique and distinct brand that is about perhaps different values or about a different feature set than our competitors, then we can be better differentiated. We can build that reputation, we can scale that reputation, and we can be thoughtful of how to do that affordably and quickly.
Okay. Do like this, so we can look at the video when we doing thing here. Sustainable competitive advantage can only be maintained until competitors are able to replicate or develop a compelling substitute. For competitive advantage, replicate or develop a for what are the four characteristics of industry structure choose the for that apply? What a com like complementary effect more critical in the partnership market interest. What is the life cycle state of industrial market life state? What are the main condition in the market need discuss in previous? What are the main condition? What know what knowledge do you possess that can contribute to serving a market need within your industry of interesting? For attributed influence and industry favorability to new firm entry. For apply industrial life circle. For knowledge condition. Industrial circle the main condition. Industrial structure. What are the four attributes influence on industrial favorability to new firm entry? Knowledge condition, industrial life cycle, the main condition, industrial structure. What knowledge do you possess that can contribute to serving a market need with to market needs knowledge condition. Again, solution we want to knowledge condition. Okay. Okay, industry level. My industry can be an educational service. So the knowledge can contribute to serving market need within your industrial use. Educational like ChatGPT about that. Okay, for educational service are known as can contribute to service that can contribute to serving a market need within educational services yes. Cultural development, educational technology, model, assessment evaluation, special education, taking cultural competence, educational policy regulation, racial technology, communication, collaboration, entrepreneurship, business management, or a lot. So I have pedagogical learning theory. I have yes, my industry of interest is educational service. That's it. And the knowledge that I search on see again. Educational technology. Educational technology. Yes. Model development form and then curriculum development. Okay. And then go cultural competitive, cultural technology, communication and collaboration. Yes, I have that. Communication and collaboration, communication and collaboration. That's it. What are the main conditions in the market need because innovation? The main condition, the main condition, the main condition within the nation we are going to take a look at what they mean in the condition. The condition are going to survey one domain, maybe a slide definition of element that we got in knowledge of the element within that by understanding what of a condition the condition recognize we training certificate and we want to develop problem well stand surrounding the current needs and one in the market but we also want to be forecast and market motivation. Yes, we can say it again.
As we explore the demand conditions within industries, we're going to take a look at what they mean in the context of industry conditions, and we're going to examine the influence of demand conditions on your success as an entrepreneur. Specifically, when we explore industry conditions, the first element that we discussed is knowledge conditions. The second is demand. And it's within that, by understanding both of these conditions, that you can improve your success within industries that you are entering. This is the industry condition. We're talking about a few different elements of looking at market, as well as the concept of venture. We need to satisfy customer needs in a better way, and we want to recognize that a problem will understand problems. The current needs moving and how a customer will help us. We need to be able to, one, with recognizing that the global education expenditure things that we need to be sure to consider. E-learning is a great example to think about demand conditions and the various elements that come into play. It starts in item 1 with recognizing that the global education expenditure is $4.4 trillion, that there are 1.4 billion students, 62 million educators, also a significant number of parents that are influential in purchasing decisions here as well. Now, e-learning as a subset of the education market is sizable as well at 91.
The number of avatar that can into market opportunity soon well. The lack of basic literary skill worldwide. Cooperation. Yes. The needs. Yeah, the needs of the e-learning. The main condition for e-learning. We have here the main condition, global education, expenditure. There are a number of other factors that might contribute to a rising cost of education, inflation, and then we have the basic literary skill worldwide. Hmm. So we look at the history of we look at internet user music kill internet user. Yes, something like that. What is the life circle state of the industry? What do you think? Life circle state ownership interest and market that you are interested I am interested in entering in the early stage.
The life cycle of your candidate industry is important to understand as well. And when we look at life cycle, we're going to look at it in the context of industry status and its impact on your success as an entrepreneur. When we explore the industry, we've talked about industry conditions and specifically the knowledge and demand factors. Now we're going to transition to industry status and think about the influence of life cycle and structure. This lets them monitor trends and thousands to millions. In favor being an early entrant and participating in the benefits of being at the front of that life cycle.
Okay, yes. What accomplishments are the most critical in the industry market? Interesting. More interesting.
With complementary assets, we're addressing both the tangible and the intangible resources that are important for your venture creation and growth. Tangible assets, things like money, equipment, perhaps real estate. Intangible, the knowledge, the relationships, even intellectual property.
complementary assets, more vertical evolution in the education, service, equipment, knowledge. I think, yeah, knowledge, know that in relationship. The complementary assets are the most critical in the e-learning industry in the are the the knowledge and the relationship. That's it. For characteristic of industry social structure.
And considering industry specific hurdles that a new company with a competitive advertising intensity is there. Average company size.
Capital intensity, advertising intensity, firm concentration, overall company size, capital intensity, firm size, advertising intensity, firm concentration. Yes. Okay. I think I can redo it because I make a wrong answer only get true or false. Yeah, the true answer. That's it. See you next time.